mellow. If your mind lies in the devil's workshop, evil doing's your thrill, and trouble and mischief is all you live for. You know damn well that you'll go to hell, yeah, you'll go to hell. Now you're living high and mighty, rich off the fat of the land. Just don't dispose of your natural soul, love, 'cause if you do, you know damn well that you'll go to hell. Yes, you will. You'll go to hell. Hell! Where your natural soul burns. Hell! Where you pay for your sins. Hell! Keep your children from doing wrong if you can, 'cause you know damn well, hey, that they'll go to hell. They'll go to hell. Hell! Man and woman were created, hell, to live for eternity. Hell! But an apple they ate from the tree of hate, so you know damn well they went to hell. Yes, they did. They went to hell. Some say that hell is below us, but I say it's right by my side. To see evil in the morning, evil in the evening, all the time. You know damn well that we all must be in hell. Got to be in hell. We all must be in hell. We must be in hell.
Bravo.
As you can kind of guess from that glimpse of Nina Simone, she was not your cookie-cutter vocalist, hoping to make everyone like her, not by a long shot. But we won't try to define or explain who she was. That's what our next guests are in the process of trying to do with a new play that is still a work in progress.
The Champion is part of our BRIC Lab program, and here to tell us about the play and the process is playwright Amy Evans, who's trained and worked in Britain, Berlin, and many other places, but now lives in Brooklyn. Welcome.
Thank you.
Along with Joy Jones, the woman who's been given both the opportunity and the challenge of playing Nina Simone. Thank you for joining us, and welcome to BK Live.
Yes.
My pleasure, thank you.
Okay. At the end of that performance, I felt like she would have dropped the mic if she had it in her hand. You know what I mean? Like, that's what you get.
Yes.
I'll be back.
Yeah.
Like, Nina Simone, what made you want to take on such a great, huge icon?
Well, it sort of was, it kind of happened by chance.
Okay.
So I was in conversation with a London-based director named Mark Rosenblatt, and he was in conversation with an actor named Noma Dumezweni. And the three of us sort of got together and thought, what if we were to develop a piece about Nina Simone? And so we got together, and this was in 2005, so this is actually quite a while back. The three of us got together, we sort of spent a while listening to our favorite songs and thinking about what we would want to do if we were to tell Nina's story. And what we decided was that we did not want to create a conventional kind of biopic. We did not want to create a musical about Nina Simone. We thought, because as you can see, musically, she can sort of hold her own. We sort of thought, who are we to try to recreate the experience of a Nina Simone concert? Why don't we instead push aside the music and give ourselves the challenge of creating a piece that is really dramatically about her as a person and about the musicians that she performed with. And what we were doing was putting ourselves under pressure to really find a nuanced portrait of who she was. So we were looking at her psychology, we were looking at her personality, we were looking at how she interacted with her musicians, who in their own right were absolutely brilliant. And that meant researching, that meant finding anyone who would speak to us, including former bandmates and former family members. It meant conducting extensive interviews with them. And it also meant asking them not just about how they related to Nina Simone, but it was also asking them about their own lives. We would start every interview by asking us, tell us your earliest memory, and work us right up into the moment when you interacted with Nina, so that when we create the play, it becomes about people who are, it's not just Nina Simone and sort of these people who were her satellites, but it becomes about this musical group, this community of artists that were creating absolutely extraordinary music.
All right. Well, Joy, let's bring you into the conversation. Sure. You know, as an actor, how did you sort of prepare for this role?
Well, some of it I would say came in the genes. Nina Simone is from Tryon, North Carolina. My mother happens to be from Eastern North Carolina. So some of it, my mother would say, oh, all those people look alike around there. So some of it is physical. I've been in places and people just out of the blue will say, you know, you look like Nina Simone. Has anyone ever told you you look like Nina Simone? So some of it is pure typecasting, I will say.
Or you might be fourth cousins.
That's right. Exactly.
That's
right.
I can read between the lines.
That's right. But then the next part has been doing research. You know, YouTube is our friend these days, reading biographies, and trying to, I will say for folks who come to see the sharing on the 6th and the 7th, you'll definitely get a taste, a sort of a sound of the person that you might see in the video, but then you'll get, as Amy said, more of her personality, so who she was behind the scenes. And it's, you know, there's a lot of, her talent was big, so sometimes people will pull me over, did I ever tell you this story? And they've got Nina stories, and some are triumphant, and some are her as a really challenging, like big personality. So for me as an actor, it was really just deciding to give myself over to whoever she is without apology.
Sure, and I feel like for a lay person, right, I'm not no historian, just someone who likes her music. Obviously, you know, you heard your mom playing some Nina Simone thing, you don't know this Nina Simone song, but you imagine her as this huge icon with so much strength. She just seemed like fearless to me. I mean, like back in the day, like Lauryn Hill would incorporate, I be Nina Simone, and this is what I do to your microphone, but that meant something. As soon as you heard, oh, you're Nina, okay, I'm not gonna mess with you. Is that what you found in learning more about her, that she was this huge, powerful force?
Yes. Yes. One of our interviewees, I remember this, told us that if you just, you could hold a gun to her head and she wouldn't flinch.
Okay.
And which is
well, all right.
That's, and that's going to be Joy's challenge. And I think
Joy like,
I've got the easy job as the writer. All I have to do is, she's the one who has the tough job. But she was, what I found about Nina Simone is that she had no boundaries. And I say that what I mean by boundaries is that I think there's a kind of fearlessness, that's one thing, but it's another thing where one simply does not recognize a barrier. And I think that was Nina. I think she was just like, this line, this demarcation means absolutely nothing to me. I think there is conversation out there about whether she might have been bipolar, whether there was depression, whether there was something that was sort of chemically influencing this kind of personality or not. That's still kind of a question mark. But even still, the kind of highs and lows, the extremities that come with that, I think we do hear in her music. And also the kind of, I like to use the word shapeshifter, on the one hand you have her playing Bach and classical music, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're listening to something that sounds like folk or blues or gospel, spirituals. I mean, it's just kind of everywhere, that this is one artist who just refuses to be pinned down.
Love it.
You know, historical context is always so important. So, you know, you said YouTube is our friend. You know, all of us are familiar with the music, and for people not familiar, they can always sort of just plug into it. But there's nothing like the life and the times in which a person lived. So can you tell us a little bit about the times in which Nina Simone lived, and how does that translate into the production?
Yes, well, one thing that stood out to me in looking through all the research that we gathered was that Nina Simone, if we look at, first of all, North Carolina, as Joy mentioned, produced a number of extraordinary artists. And she also came through a period where excellence was expected as a matter of course. There was no great reward for being the best. You were expected to be the best. The question was, why aren't you the best? And there are artists that sort of, Coltrane, Roberta Flack, I mean, these are her contemporaries who came through this kind of came through an environment where this was an expectation. And I don't know, I think that's partly a response to the 50s, the 40s, this period of time when one's life as a Black artist was sort of defined by so many limitations. The response to that is to be ready to push beyond those limitations, be ready to be twice, 3 times as good. Nina Simone, her goal was to actually to become a classical musician. She was expecting to become the first Black female classical musician. That was her goal. She never set out to be the Nina Simone that we know. And that in itself is kind of is a result of her, from a very young age, being this prodigy, a real prodigy, and sort of taking that on and saying, okay, my path is to take this forward and become excellent.
Okay, so she was a prodigy. Couple that with a demand of excellence, and taking it to that next level. How do you plug into this?
Well, part of it is trusting Amy's script and trusting that the research is in there. Do you know what I mean? And so as an actor, I always try to offer myself up to the piece and offer myself up to the role. I had an acting teacher once who said, I love each character you play and love them generously, so bring yourself to the role. Don't pull the role to you. So it's definitely, if I'm doing my job, you won't see Joy, you'll see someone who's offered themselves to Nina through Amy's script. Also getting back to, you had asked about historical context. The play is set specifically in 1962, and so just wanted to say that, and actually centered around an incident that Amy learned about when she was doing her research. So just wanted to honor where the play was set in a specific point in time.
You want to tell us when, or are you like, or is that like, hold okay? Okay.
There was Nina Simone and her trio went, and by trio at the time, she was working with Al Shackman, Christopher White, and Bobby Hamilton. And Al Shackman is a guitarist, and Bobby Hamilton played the drums for her, and Christopher White played the bass. And they were on tour through the Deep South. And ended up stranded in North Carolina during an unseasonably cold winter night, not unlike the ones we've been having. And the airport was shut down because of ice, so they ended up having to take a train, which meant sitting around in a train station until late in the evening for a train that was coming in late. And Chris and Al and Nina went out to go for a walk. And when they came back, their drummer, Bobby Hamilton, was surrounded by police officers who were accusing him of having swiped a white woman's purse. And it's this incident that was told to us. We heard 3 different versions of this same story, and apparently Nina went, I quote, Nina went off. And she was, she used her star power, she used her pull, she used every last thing she had in her arsenal to get these police officers to step off her man, her drummer, her musician. And I was really moved by this moment, first of all, because it fit beautifully into the structure of a real-time play, but it was also an example of how this boundlessness served 2 purposes. It served her as a musician, but it had a political purpose as well. And she used it as a political weapon, the same way that she used her music as a political weapon. So in a way, the play is kind of a metaphor around the music and how this played out in a political arena.
Okay, I love it. That had me on the edge of my seat. I was like, then what happened? So I can't wait. So where are you? Right? I mean, I know you were too, because I could feel him like moving in.
You saw it, right?
Yeah. So where are you in the process with this play? What's next?
Okay, so over the past, it's been really 8 years. There's been a series of workshops developing around the development of the script itself. The aim of those workshops was to create a script that was as natural and as nuanced as possible. And we're at the end of that process now, and BRIC has generously opened up the space for us to have a BRIC Lab residency.
Love it.
So we've got 12 days in the studio to start working towards what we call a bare bones production. So it's not a full production, but sort of in between reading and production. So you're going to get to see Joy bring Nina to life, and a fantastic cast. Director Reg Douglas has come on board. And it's going to be a chance for an audience to see it, and after each performance there will be a talkback.
Awesome.
We'll be joined by Jeff Lieberman and Salamisha Tillett, who are both working extensively on Nina, who will talk to us a little bit.
All right, the champion, work in progress.
That's right. When is the reading?
March 6th and March 7th.
March 6th and 7th. Thank you both so much for joining us. This was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.